glyphosate. We're going to talk about some political stuff. We're going to talk about some economic stuff. I'm going to play some clips that really kind of give an understanding of what's really truly going on with the global economy. And I'm going to point out got a really a pretty interesting story here about Mayor Pete from the mayor of Indiana, South Bend, Indiana. E. Michael Jones talks about him all the time. The openly gay mayor presidential campaign that he is on, but it really does kind of look like he just shot down his presidential campaign, and all you really have to do is one thing. It doesn't take much to achieve that level of destruction of one's campaign. All you have to do is talk about specific topics. So I'm going to go ahead and read something here. Mayor Pete just shot down his presidential campaign. On Tuesday, Pete Buttigieg flew his presidential campaign into the side of a mountain. He made one of the worst mistakes a hopeful can make. He criticized the state of Israel. Okay? And this is out of Haaretz. During a speech at Indiana University, Buttigieg said that if Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will go forward with his pre-election promise to annex settlements in the West Bank, he should know that a President Buttigieg, which was never even going to happen if he hadn't said this, would take steps to make sure that American taxpayers will not and won't help foot the bill for further annexation. Apparently, either he's full of hubris and doesn't understand how things operate, but wow. So Buttigieg then made a second political mistake. He said that he supports the so-called two-state solution to the conflict, which, if you know anything about any type of two-state solution there, or there's the talk of the two-state solution, and then whenever window dressing, it makes it look like there's a possibility that there's some kind of peace or there's some kind of solution to the problem, then there's a staged event or some kind of attack or of some sort, and then it neutralizes, nullifies, and all but destroys any, because there's no going back. There's no going back with that. So just to give you, Mayor Pete shoots it down. It looks like Mayor Pete is trying to appeal to a growing segment of so-called progressives who have finally come around to some pretty glaring facts about, and this is mentioned quite a bit. The UN never really does anything about it. It's all kind of window dressing to make it look like things are being recognized that, an apartheid state is in place, and it's never ever going to change, okay, unless the powers that be want to do some kind of magic that will change this around, but there is no, there's no meeting halfway here. It's always this. So I don't know whether he's just stupid or he realizes that he's not going to become the president, and he's going to somehow put out some things that he feels passionate about. So take it for whatever it is, but there's not any change there. And, there's more information coming out of the Middle East. The deception of the entire Syria civil war, the deception of what happened in Libya, all really, really done. Any number of specific outcomes, mainly the migrant crisis, to get large portions of very, very young Syrians, Libyans, Muslims to have to leave that area. So if you're going to take over an area, you want to get as many people of fighting age out of those areas. So largely that is and was accomplished. And of course, something like really, really weird happening with just the whole Russia influence that's in there. Now, everybody wants to believe that there's some level of good in the world, some level of, trying to make things that make the world a better place. And you want to think that it's possible. Is Russia, the country that's going to do that? They've helped Syria. They've even had one of their military planes shot down by an Israeli fighter jet. And then there was just a sorry, blah, blah, blah. This probably happened, I want to say it was maybe late last year or earlier this year. But what is Russia doing? Again, everybody wants to believe that there's some level of pushback to the United States and the empire that is working along with the UK, that's working along with Germany, that's working along with France. I want to believe that there's something that's going to neutralize the destruction that's going on. But I really, truly feel that what's happening is the inevitability of a third world conflict, third world war conflict. Or, as Alex Jones says, who made a total retard spectacle of himself yesterday, outside of Google, one of Google's branches there in Austin, Texas, when Steven Crowder came to plead his case about his freedom of speech being stepped on. So I want to believe that Russia is doing something right, doing something good. But I feel as though there are elements of our society that just aren't ever going to allow that. And I think that's what the push is for, the Russian collusion. And then, they can't find anything, but then it's still a thing. Just the push to say that the Russians are bad. And maybe they are. Maybe they're not. If they are bad, then we've done worse than whatever they've done. And our connection to the deep state. deep state global banking consortiums, IMF, Federal Reserve, goes to the original power, the original organizations and families that said, we're going to dominate the world. We are going to have enough money, we're going to have enough resources so that we will be able to control, we'll be able to create governments and then control governments, control compartmentally every politician in those governments, and be able to destroy them because we will own the media as well. We will be able to destroy them, and slowly they will come to realize this power. And when this power is realized, they will start policing themselves and realizing that, hey, do I want to be in the big club or do I want to be on the outside looking in? And all of these other issues, abortion, campaign finance, perpetual war, it's all just, these are all just sideshows to the big picture. The denying of Bitcoin, whereas now Facebook, I believe, is implementing their own version of it. Probably realizing that paper money is going away. Everything is going to be digital. Everything is going to be digital. Max Kaiser is a big proponent of Bitcoin in any aspect of it. We're going to hear a little bit from him on some of his latest breakdowns of what the economy is really doing and what's really happening. And of course, you haven't heard, not that I even really truly listen to Alex Jones. I tune in from time to time to maybe get an update or to see what they're saying. But I look at that platform now with much more filtering than I did years ago. And I think somebody said it pretty effectively. They said the time that gets wasted, you learn things, you learn about the way that the world works from somebody like Jones. But the time that you waste listening to him, waiting for his next video, waiting for some kind of answer, and all the false alarms like, this is putting a dagger in the heart of the New World Order. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. What it does is it puts more money into his pocket. And I think he really has kind of like lost it on some level, because if you listen, and maybe I'll even play a clip here of it. Let's see. He really, truly kind of has lost it. Steven Crowder, as I said, goes to Google branch in Austin, Texas, and is saying there's no such thing as hate speech. Change my mind, which I think is a pretty decent platform. Overall, I think Crowder's he's a C word. Okay. I think he's largely kind of full of shit. Okay. Because anybody who benefits from this system, I mean, he's been on Fox News, and, both sides are ridiculous. Okay. I listen to everything. because I know that both sides are the same bird. One wing, the other wing. So it's all the same thing. So you have to come to the realization that the entire system is controlled by one source. The left is controlled by the same source. Right is controlled by that same source, by those same banking interests, by those same controllers, by those same lobby groups, or one big lobby group in particular. And so you really have to come to the understanding that you're being played. You're being majorly, massively played by this system where they have everyone, the minions and the plebes, the proletariat, fighting amongst themselves about, my body, my choice. Stop hating the Muslims, love the Muslims. They're all this, they're all bad people and all that stuff. So they get everybody fighting amongst themselves. It's divide and conquer. It's something that has been a massive, just complete strategy for years. Going back. Those in power control the narrative. They control the people. They control the topics that will divide. That will divide people, the transgender, the 17, 20, 60, 100 plus orientations now, genders. There's not just two. And then you think, like, what's going on? Is this a chemical thing? Is this and I heard someone break down that obviously we've been under attack for years. Companies making like Agent Orange, the geoengineering that goes on all the time, that interferes with body chemistry and all these different things. So, can you say, are the people born this way or this, that, and the other thing? And then, of course, whatever people choose to do, choose to be, let them be that. But what happens is that the power structure, the oligarchs, the control system will get in there and start manipulating these groups. They'll start manipulating the LGBTQ, trans, and they're there to create the divide and conquer, to create the instability. And then once people in power, those that don't have power, largely, there's Pete Buttigieg, gay mayor of South Bend, which has been pointed out many times by the E. Michael Jones, the 71-year-old rock star now on Everybody Wants to Speak with Him, Everybody Wants to Talk with Him, author of Slaughter of Cities, where he writes about how America and people have been manipulated. Irish says that there's three. There's Irish. There's I've listened to a number of them, but he said that, well, after the KKK, the Democratic Party's organization, the KKK, made life pretty unlivable in the South and in many other different places, then they started moving people around, migrating people. And we see the migration that's happened in Europe from Libya, from Syria, from Iraq, which destabilizes, clashes civilizations. So the same type of thing took place here, and I truly believe that that this took place, this slaughter of cities, this dilution of cultures. Not that black people didn't deserve to be wherever they wanted to be or they wanted to live. It was the system that knew exactly what it was doing by paving the way for these things to take place. So that's one of the books, The Slaughter of Cities, which I find to be pretty interesting, because my parents lived in Philadelphia. And one of the reasons that they said that they moved their young family to the suburbs of New Jersey was because the neighborhoods started to get real shitty. So this was, and again, I don't really feel like it was the black people's, like, you bad black people. It was an effort for the system to create and destroy black people's lives in the South, and then to societally engineer, societally transition them from there to other cities. And we see the inner cities of Chicago. We see the inner cities of New York, and the crime. Chicago is overrun with black on black crimes, black people killing each other. And that's what the system wants. That's what the system wants. That's why Rahm Emanuel is the mayor. And if you trace the mayors going back, nothing ever changes. Nothing ever changes. It's gotten worse. Along with stagnant, pay. Salaries have made it. That's what you hear from economists all the time. Salaries haven't gone up. Salaries haven't gone up. Pay hasn't gone up. Shit. Pay hasn't gone up. Which has an effect. Max Kaiser talks about it all the time. I don't know that much about economics, but I know that they who have all the gold make all the rules. It's just that way. So let's see here. I really truly believe that Alex Jones now he drinks and then he makes videos. It's really kind of sad, but maybe justice is being done. I don't know. For his punting and his not really telling people what the source of the problems are. but yet monetarily benefiting from it over the years. Now he's being what do you call that? Neutered. He's been neutered. So that's what he looks like. He looks like an animal that's been neutered, and now really doesn't have. He just really doesn't have his balls anymore. And it's kind of sad, but at the same time, the amount of time that's wasted, listening to Alex Jones rant every day, which was quite comical. But at the same time, it's like, this Kurt Nemo, who used to work for Alex Jones, has his own blog now, Another Day in the Empire. Basically saying, when Jones started moving towards Donald Trump and changing his tune completely, saying, the New World Order is on its heels now that Donald Trump is running. They're scared, and now he's the president. Oh, they're even more scared. If Donald Trump was any threat to these people, to these organizations, he wouldn't be breathing anymore. Okay? And we're almost 3 years. What is it? Almost 3 years. Or at least 3 years into his cabinet. So Kurt Nemo's like, Alex is full of shit. And writes in his own blog and talks about all of the things that Alex would punt on and just completely not cover because he's not truly legitimate. And it took me a little while, longer than I would like to admit, to understand who he is and what he's done, what he continues to do, and what, as a whole, just not very helpful. Not very helpful. Can't seem to find that damn video of him. Well, anyway, I'll just tell you what. Crowder's there. He brought his lawyer. He brought a lawyer there to talk about things. He went into the Google building and he said, "Hey, I would like to, I've been banned. My free speech has been inflicted upon. I would like to speak with someone." So they're out front, and there's a number of people that show up, and then Alex shows up. And he's just a fucking mess. All those nutrition, all the vitamins, all the supplements and everything like that. Not good. Not good. And I really truly think that he has a concern. He brought something to the table. Mostly, I think it was about him. But I think he definitely has a concern because he's a father. And there are things that are going on that whether he shills for whoever he's shilling for, it's still going to affect him and his family if America goes down. So he's doing this obviously more for himself than he says that he's doing it for others in a collective. So he just goes out there and he says, you know, that he's transgender. He finally sees that he should have followed Obama, and that Steven Crowder is a racist and needs to be confronted, and he's challenging him to a fight, arm wrestle. It's actually quite comical, but at the same time, you know, it's sad. It's comical, but it's sad at the same time. And then Crowder comes out, and then there. Just listen. Let's give a little bit of a.
Saying, give us.
Here he is.
Tell us you made money. We're like, there's no money off there. No, you live off this. And if you look at that number of less than 1%, most of that since they make me cover it.
Right.
So again,
I truly believe that one day the man's voice is just going to give out.
And I read the judge's ruling.
Just hear him talking. His voice is just gravel.
Google. I'm like, give you the Google. It's just like, oh, here's the Google. Oh, here's the secret Google. So it's incredible, my friend.
Yeah, and I think, you know, they understand.
They can't have a fair trial with us. They lie about
it. And there he goes.
They twist it, all of
there he goes, cutting people off. He asks people questions, and then they start to talk, and then he continues to talk.
At the end of the day, I'm not worried, because anybody, once IT looks at this.
So he's a mess. He's a mess. And, you know, Roger Stone is there now, with saying that he's got a $2 million legal fee, and he's asking for donations and things like that. You know, anybody involved in politics is just, there's a documentary, I think it's on Netflix, about Roger Stone. But the people that are on there, that are calling him sleazy, going back to when, you know, in his earlier days with Nixon and all this other stuff, calling him sleazy. Everything about Washington and politics and the state-controlled apparatus media, these people, there's just different levels of sleaze, and how they can separate themselves from it and how they can say these things is just beyond my comprehension. How people sleep soundly at night, calling someone else garbage when they are some level of filth that has not been designated yet, takes a lot of fucking guts for these people. And I'm not defending Roger Stone in the slightest. I didn't even think Trump was going to win. I really didn't. And I truly believe that there was an agenda to that, because if Hillary comes in, you don't see this type of divide. The right, the gun owners, and the people, they just go back and they say, oh, we lost another one. But Donald Trump wins. We have more division. We have more divide. We have more polarization. And what does the left do? They freak the fuck out like fucking mental patients. Like one flew over the fucking cuckoo's nest. Okay, see, that's the difference between people on the right. They're a little bit smarter. They're a little bit more the ability to be able to control their behavior. The left, fucking forget it. Even Hillary, when she said to Trump, "Oh, you know, will you accept it if will you accept the final outcome if I win?" And then Trump was like, maybe. And then, of course, you know, the absolute hypocrite that she is. And now the Clintons are creating their own media platform. Just imagine the fucking garbage that's going to be on that. That'll be hailed as fucking groundbreaking and fucking awesome. And and from God or whatever. But is it really truly these people? Is it really truly these people that should we be as angry at them as we are? And I will lump myself into that because I am doing this dissertation here, this podcast, or is it the dumb masses, the unclean fucking masses that believe that Bill Clinton is pure as the driven snow, and that Hillary Clinton really truly fights for women when she defended the guy who raped the girl, that whole thing, which was a true thing, was a real thing. Video, audio, the whole entire thing, where she legally defended a scumbag who sexually molested and did awful things to a young woman. You can hear the audio of her voice and the things that she is saying, and it comes full circle with her. We saw, he died. This is people from evil fucking bloodline families. These are evil fucking people from bloodline families, overprivileged and handpicked for service. Not to people, to the people, because when there's a difference. We the people is the original founders and their family and their blood. We are just citizen. We are on the citizen slave ship where we believe every day that these things are being done for us, even though the left and the right have failed so many times on every fucking level imaginable. But yet we still give them, people still go out and fucking vote in this system. I didn't vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Hillary. I voted for Gary Johnson. The last presidential election over Obama, I voted for Obama the first time. But this was, and it shows how powerful it is, because I knew by that time that Al Gore was a bag of shit, and that George W. Bush was a bloodline, blue blood bag of shit who works for the masters. Their masters, their banking power, top ruling elite. So I voted for Obama, saw the Obama deception, but nowhere in there does it say that Obama is, nobody even realizes, like when you talk to people, nobody realizes that Ann Dunham was a white woman. They have no idea, even though these things were talked about in the run up to while he was running for president, while Obama was running for president, and then when he became president-elect, and then when he became president, it had already been out there that his mother, and they showed pictures of her and everything, and she died of, disease, cancer, or whatever it was. And then, of course, he used these things to add to his agenda or their agenda. But his name, Barack Obama, it's Barry Dunham. At birth was Barry Dunham, of the Dunham family, who owns land of clear free title, which means they don't pay taxes or anything on it, in Indiana. If you go to thedunhamhouse.com, the Dunham House, DUNHAM House, THEDUNHAM HOUSC.com, you'll see him standing there on his ancestral land. I don't know. I haven't been there in a while. Maybe. It's not there anymore. Nope, there it is, the Dunham House, the ancestral home of President Barack Obama. And if you look at one of the tabs, it says home, history, presidential visit, presidential genealogy. And if you go in there, you'll see the progression from George Washington to Barack Obama. From George Washington to Barack Obama. And everybody that took place in getting sort of generation, boom, 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 person, Obama. And Dunham. Okay? This is the key. These are the keys about America. Okay? These are the people. They are the people. I am not the people. I am not we the people. You are not we the people. They are the people. Okay? And it turns out that Obama, and I don't want to make this about Obama podcast, but if you go in there and you type in Obama visits Ireland, visits Republic of Ireland, you find out even more about his genealogy. What is it here? Obama visits Ireland, his ancestral homeland. Okay? All right. Let's see here. Arriving in Dublin, President Obama met Irish President Mary McAleese. Let's see. Later, the U.S. leader, together with First Lady, will visit the village of Monegal, which was the home of his great-great-great-grandfather on his mother's side, Falmouth Kearney. Okay? So this should give you an idea. Like, most people had no idea that his mother was white. And he has family in Ireland. Okay. So, and I wanted to, before I forget, Jon Stewart was in D.C., and he was there fighting for the 9/11 first responders. Now, when I heard that he was in Congress, I had no idea what. Okay. Of course, Jon Stewart is not his real name. He has a much more Jewish name, but for some reason he changed that for whatever reason. Maybe not like Jews in the 30s and the 40s, and when they were afraid to be Jewish. So he changed his name to Jon Stewart, and I have to say that he is fighting for these people to get taken care of. Okay? And just like 9/11 was a cover-up, and of course he's not going to go there, so I only give him a 9 out of 10, which I didn't even know why he was there in Congress, but he's sitting there nearly, breaking down with tears, which I have to give him props, man. I have to give Jon Stewart props. For years, he sat there making fun of the right and giving the left a pass, giving Obama a pass, not really truly knowing what both sides are and what they both represent. Or if he does, then maybe he gets an 8.9. But he's there, and if you get a chance, take a look at it. If you get a chance, take a look at the video of Jon Stewart saying, they did their job on 9/11, even though it was a complete fucking not what they said that it was. And anybody out there in the corporation called America thinks that everything went down the way that the 9/11 Commission said, and even 6 out of the 10 9/11 Commission appointees said that there needs to be another investigation because things didn't add up. And there wasn't. Nobody looked at it any further about anything. And I know what you're thinking if you're listening to this and you've got your head up your ass like so many of these slaves on the citizenship. If you don't think, or should I say, if you think that you were told the fucking truth, then you are an absolute C word. You are a C word. If you're a man, you should probably have your card revoked, which means nothing anymore because everybody gets a man card and a woman card, and yeah, they get manipulated and they get divided and conquered, and they don't get it. They don't realize it. They don't understand the level of societal deception, societal engineering that they and their families and their mothers and their mothers' mothers and their fathers' fathers have been through. But we just want to keep on continuing this lie. History or lies agreed upon. You heard it so many times. You hear it so many times in shows. In the plane crash that was season 8 of Game of Thrones. And that's what happens. Things start off good, and because of money and greed, what should have taken, what was offered, 10 episodes, they did it in 6. They rushed everything. And, but here's the thing. And I'm not going to make a video about it. I'm not going to like a lot of these grown men who act like little children on their videos. They're up there talking about Star Wars. They're like fucking, 50, and they're talking about how this was fucked up and that was fucked up, and they'll never forget that, what was it? The last one, The Last Jedi. I can't believe how badly they fucked up The Last Jedi, and they're going to fuck up, The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, these are grown men. Grown men. I think there's something fascinating about good book writing, George R.R. Martin, the whole deal. Okay? But once these guys ran out of books, which you could say, but if the books were already written, then you would have known what the end was already. You would have known what the end was already. So maybe that's why they did that. I'm not sure. Maybe that's why he didn't finish. I'm not sure. But when you got grown men sniveling about things that large scale don't even fucking matter. That don't even matter. It's just more of the disintegration of things. And, the programming, the absolute masterful programming that takes grown men and reduces them to fucking fanboys is astounding to me. Now, I'm not going to say I don't enjoy watching, the Avengers movies. I just saw the Endgame recently, And people were saying that it was, there were people that were pissed off about it. But you know what? It wasn't that bad. Okay? I never read the fucking comics. Okay? Maybe these kids should have read something, about the world, about how the world really operates. It's really just depressing to see people caring so much about things that don't really fucking matter. Like the Avengers. Like the latest X-Men movie. Just find out who's financing it. Who's financing all these movies? Banks. They make incredible sums of money and all. I mean, it's just everything of any importance has been absolutely taken over and dominated by a relatively small gaggle of fucking shit that lives parasitically off of all of us. And it works. And it works. It fucking works because it reduces men in their 30s, 40s, and 50s to absolute fanboy worthlessness. Spectators. Absolute fucking spectators. Not making the world turn, if that's in fact what it's doing, but just watching and reacting. Watching and reacting. And again, Jon Stewart, I got to give you props for what you did there and your words in front of Congress, who was largely not even there, which he made a strong point. It was just like, these people came down here. This one guy going on his 60 in his chemo treatments in the 60s count, in the 60 count, was told that he needed to come there. So he travels from wherever he came from wherever he lives, probably on the East Coast, where most of these first responders were from, on that day that changed everything, that created markets and security and propelling us into an absolute fucking full spectrum dominance over everyone under the guise of safety. But everybody loves it. They got their Alexas and their fucking Google recording devices in their homes. They sit there and masturbate to fucking technology. Oh, it's so great. It's so awesome. It could be. It could be something good. But it's not being used. It's not being used to benefit your life. And if you think you saying, like the commercial that I saw the other day where the girl comes home, she just participated in some kind of, sporting event, soccer, and she lost. And her mother's like, Susie, where are you going? And then she just goes up to her bedroom and she cries because she lost. But didn't they tell her there's no losers? Everybody's a winner? Didn't they say that? And then in the middle of the night, the mother hears something going on outside, ball bouncing or whatever. It's the girl. She's outside trying to get better. And then as she's getting out of bed, she says, Alexa, turn the light on. Turn the outside light on, Alexa. And then she looks outside, and then there's her daughter out there practicing. Wouldn't you think that the girl going out there would have turned the fucking light on herself. Do we need technology to turn a fucking light on for us? How completely fucking retardedly lazy have we gotten that we can't fucking turn a light on anymore? I have a wireless device that I programmed for it to turn a light on and then turn a light off. And I don't even need to have the wireless network on. Once it's programmed, it's got an internal timer where it will turn the light on and it will turn it off without wireless. Why do we need this? Why is the little mini Alexa sitting on the bedstand, on the bed table? It's disgusting. It really is fucking disgusting that we've gotten to the point where we just allow. It's like me walking into your house or anyone that someone doesn't know and say, hey, listen, don't mind me. I'm just going to sit here and listen to everything that you say. Feel free to ask me any questions you like, and I will answer if I know. That's what Alexa is. That's what Google is. Google Assistant. Inviting someone into your house to listen to you. It's unfucking believable that people allow these things to take place. It's an absolute freak show. You look at what's going on out there. You look at what we've allowed ourselves to be turned into. How we've allowed them to turn us into something that we were never, ever supposed to be. The television set, having given all these years of so many things, but its main fucking purpose is to propagandize you, to make you buy something, to make you believe something that is not fucking true. From Walter Cronkite to Dan Rather to Peter Jennings to all of these state-sponsored C words that lie and lie and lie and fucking lie and lie and lie, and we sit there and we listen to it. And we don't know. We believe in this system. You know, and believe means love. If you go back to Webster's 1828, believe means love. I believe what you're saying. I love what you're saying. People have no idea what words mean. We have no idea. At least I do. I say we because I'm part of the experiment. I'm part of the fucking experiment. Hello. And you cross paths with people every fucking day. Every day you cross paths with people that have no fucking clue. People that walk and hold their phone like it's about to ring. I mean, it is an absolute fucking neural network of idiots. I mean, just think about it. And I know there's good people out there. I've come across good people out there. You know this to be true. This absolute fucking, I gotta touch this phone. I gotta touch this phone. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. I'm very rarely on Twitter anymore, and I deactivated my Facebook account probably 4 or 5 years ago, maybe more. But all I had to do is type in the password that I know that it is back into Facebook, and it would bring me right back to where I was. And that's what it said. Because it never deletes your shit. It's a absolute database. It's what it was created for. It's the same thing Google was created for. Same thing that Amazon is created for. This is all part of the big picture. Small pieces being slowly put together to create the puzzle that is going to absolutely, when you see it, it's going to be like, when it's done, it's going to be like a truckload full of dead fucking bodies. When the puzzle's done, when all the little pieces are put together. And it's the truth. We have been completely and totally conquered. We have been conquered by toys. We have been conquered by a political class, a parasitic political class of mind controllers, those whose minds have been controlled and who assist in pulling in new minds. The scumbags who tell you that they're going to keep you safe from the terrorists when they're being funded by them. And on top of all of that, your popular kids cereals are contaminated with weed killer Roundup. Which, when was the last time you saw on the nightly news anything about the devastation of Roundup and pesticides on food, even though massive lawsuits now that Bayer has purchased Monsanto, massive lawsuits of people that have lymphomas and all kinds of nasty, debilitating diseases from using and being exposed to this fucking poison that was made and designed to do exactly what it's fucking doing. Does General Mills really want to keep using a chemical that independent scientists say causes cancer? This is from Common Dreams. New testing conducted for Environmental Working Group detected glyphosate in 21 of General Mills' oat-based cereal and snack products. A new analysis reveals Wednesday that over 20 popular children's cereals and snacks are contaminated. The main ingredient in the weed killer Roundup. Unreal, man. What do we got here? Do you eat Honey Nut Cheerios? Nature Valley Fruit and Nut Chewy Trail Mix Granola Bars? Dark chocolate and nut? Nature Valley Sweet and Salty Nut Granola Bars? Cashew? And Nature Valley Soft Baked Oatmeal Squares? Cinnamon Brown Sugar? Do they really want to keep using a chemical that independent scientists say causes cancer, made by a company that 3 juries have found guilty of covering up its health hazards? Or will they listen to the growing chorus of concerned consumers calling on General Mills and other companies to remove glyphosate from the cereals kids love to eat? findings come as glyphosate, which the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer declared a probable carcinogen in 2015, faces legal scrutiny as thousands of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma sufferers say that Bayer Monsanto's Roundup caused their cancer. 3 courts in California have so far sided with plaintiffs and ordered the agrochemical giant to pay billions in damages. And of course, that's going to happen. But all they're going to do is label it now. I truly believe that the entire environment is saturated with it. There's a poisoning paradise, which is an RT, Russia Today documentary. And this is why I want to think that there's good things happening, that there's things happening for the good, for the better. And that maybe Russia leads the way. God forbid. You know, USA is the one that leads the way, right? Yet so many European countries ban dangerous chemicals that are still allowed in America, that are still allowed in the corporation known as North America, the United States corporation, the corporation nation. Why would they do that? Why would they see this and then, I mean, why? Why would we still? And the answer is quite easy. It's quite easy. It's because America is being brought down. Young people eating these toxic poison where, you know, how can you trust a fucking system that says, you know, you're going to get your Cheerios, lower your cholesterol, another fucking lie to sell destructive fucking cholesterol lowering drugs, destroy your cognitive function, your ability to remember anything, among other things. Why would we trust a system that does this to us? Well, I guess number one, it's not reported on. America's Lawyer on RT Network, one of the shows there, has been talking about Roundup and the Roundup lawsuit of the groundskeeper, black man who's sick and dying. Which kind of triggered the whole thing. America is a closed system when it comes for information. It's a closed system. We have no idea what's going on in other areas of the world. And if we think we know what's going on in other areas of the world, whatever it is that we think we know was a lie. We don't, I mean, if you watch RT, they cover what's going on in America. They cover what's going on in the Middle East extensively. They cover on what's going on in, obviously, Syria, what's going on in Israel, what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in Libya, what's going on in South Africa. Another documentary, Reaping Divine Justice, about how farmers in South Africa now are being told that their land is going to be confiscated without compensation. You might have heard my conversation with Simon on show number 3. I've started numbering the programs now, just to, never did before, but whatever. Anyway, your food is being poisoned. It's being used as a weapon, just as Henry Kissinger said years ago. And this is what This is what we see. This is the result of his food as a weapon. For countless Americans, living in their vehicles has become the new normal. Once again tonight, countless numbers of Americans will sleep in their vehicles, and this is a problem that is getting worse with each passing year. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the homeless populations in the United States hit 500,000 in 2018, but many believe that the true number is actually a lot higher, because in order to accurately count the homeless, you have got to find them first. The many homeless do not want to be found. But even if HUD, their figure is accurate, it is still a great national tragedy. Just like how many times do we see veterans out there? And the reason why veterans and the Veterans Administration doesn't really take care of veterans, and some of them have been stories, written stories, not fake news, of them killing themselves on Veterans Administration, land, property. They turn people into killers, they use them, and then they get rid of them. They used all of the firefighters and the first responders and everybody on 9/11, and now they turn their back on them. And they don't, and Congress and large numbers of people from Congress do not even show up. Watch the Jon Stewart Congress. Just type in Jon Stewart Congress this week and just watch it. There's a lot of things that Jon Stewart is and is not. But in this case, you really have to kind of point out that he cares. That he cares about these people. And again, you got to give him his due. Apparently, Bitcoin evangelist John McAfee has threatened to bury the U.S. government if they keep harassing him over unpaid taxes, promising to leak a huge trove of lies proving corruption throughout Washington and its allies. He says, "I've collected files on corruption in government. For the first time, I'm naming names and specifics," McAfee warned in a string of tweets stretching back to Sunday, vowing to release over 31 terabytes. They'll Julian Assange him, for sure. But I mean, look at what Julian Assange exposed. And now he's even closer to being sent to the U.S., where they're just going to, set him on fire. Because all you have to do is look at the left and the right, and you ask them. I bet you it's 95 on each side of this diseased fucking bird. 95% of them will say that he's a traitor and that he needs to spend the rest of his life behind bars, if not higher percent. If you ask that AOC, I'm curious to find out, what she said. I'm sure Nancy Pelosi would want him tarred and feathered and set on fire, because she protects the beast. That's why she's at the high level that she is, even now that she can't speak all that well, that she can't do many, many different things like her job, whatever that is. She's garbage. Just like many on the right are fucking garbage. So many stories. U.S. submits formal extradition, as I said, request for WikiLeaks founder. Antitrust hearing starts with big media citing junk study to demand big tech, and tech hands them tons of money. The tyranny of drug laws. What else did I? Let's see here. See if I can find something here. And again, when we go back and we talk about the possibility that all of these countries know their role in the coming world conflict, it doesn't really give me much hope to think that the entire world, and of course our world here in America, is going to get worse. And of course then everything will be monetized even more. Everyone will be, you already do. If you see something, say something, this whole deal. When things start getting bad, there's going to be all types of people out there that will side with the system, that will do whatever they have to do to make their life easier while selling out the rest of humanity. All right, Raytheon and United Technologies announced merger to create military-industrial behemoth. $120 billion merger is on the horizon. Veteran who died mysteriously in police custody returned to his family missing his brain, his heart, and his throat. On April 9th, 2018, the Palmers experienced every family's worst nightmare. Everett Palmer Jr., a veteran and father of 2 children, had died while in police custody, they were told. Months later, the family was just shocked when an independent pathologist said Palmer's body was missing the throat, heart, and brain. And that's because there's, an organ trade. Okay. Like over in China, when you don't play the fucking game, they have mobile execution vans where they take your fucking organs after they kill you and then sell them to the highest bidder if there's a match for someone. How about that? And that's, of course, happening here now. Everett Palmer Jr. I wonder if I Googled that, whether that would even come up or not. But of course, we can't trust any of these stories, right? But we can trust CBS, NBC, ABC, PBS, Fox, right? We can trust Reuters, all these people that have been lying to us for years, known criminals. We're not allowed to question. Just go along to get along. And again, more on the homeless. 16,000 people in LA now live in cars, vans, and RVs. And there was actually another documentary about this guy who built small homes. Very, very, very small homes that the homeless could live in. 1 or 2 people could live in. And let's just say he wasn't really allowed to do that. And the city didn't say, hey, you could really help a lot with this. But they really don't give a shit, man. This corporation doesn't give a shit about their veterans. It doesn't give a shit about homeless people. It doesn't give a shit about children unless it's to push some kind of draconian fucking legislation, dancing on a grave of a dead veteran or a dead child. It's a lie. It's a fucking lie. It's a fucking lie. Cancer patients sentenced to prison for buying THC edibles as treatment. Thomas Franzen, 37, has never been arrested or committed a crime before. He was diagnosed with stage 3 testicular cancer that has spread to both lungs and his abdominal cavity. However, because government claims the authority to throw people in jail over a plant, Franzen's self-medication process for his cancer has now landed him in prison for the next 4 years. Isn't that great? Isn't that sweet? I'm glad. Freedom. Can you feel it? Can you feel the freedom? Can you feel the aura, the freedom? The omnipresent the omnipresent surveillance state, Orwell's 1984, is no longer fiction. Tread cautiously. The fiction of George Orwell has become an operation manual from the omnipresent modern-day surveillance state. It's been 70 years since Orwell, wrote this book. Okay. And, beset by fever and bloody coughing fits and driven to warn against the rise of a society in which rampant abuse of power and mass manipulation are the norm. Depicted the ominous rise of ubiquitous technology, fascism, and totalitarianism in 1984. You can find all these stories over at blacklistednews.com. blacklistednews.com if you want to know more about these stories. 700 quakes hit a key California seismic zone, and tar is literally bubbling up through the streets of Los Angeles. Scientists are quite concerned about the huge earthquake swarm that has been shaking Southern California in recent weeks. I don't know. I try not to watch too much of the news, so I didn't realize that there were 700 quakes. None of this means that a major seismic event is imminent, but it is certainly not a good sign either. All right, so let's see. I gotta get this. Get the mouse over here. Woman filming saves unarmed man's life as cops nearly kill him for fitting the description. Fitting the description in the land of the free is an all too common phrase used by public servants to justify the horrific abuse of innocent people. All too often, the abuse turns deadly, and these innocent people are killed or permanently injured. As the video, as you can find in this report below, illustrates, filming these interactions and telling police they are on video can be the difference between life and death. But 100% of the time, you're told, turn that phone off, turn this off, turn that off. So, corruption in plain sight. Jared Kushner's firm took in $90 million from unnamed foreign entities since 2017. The latest scandal that's not even really a scandal is that that the administration involves secret foreign investments in a company which is Goldman Sachs, in which the president's son-in-law and advisor, Kushner, has a stake. And The Guardian reported on Monday a real estate speculation corporation called Cadre, C-A-D-R-E, which was co-founded by Kushner, has received at least $90 million in overseas capital since 2017. And if you look at this, It's just another way to steal property. Let's see here. Cadre allows investors to play the real estate market like the stock market, buying and selling properties like investments and using combined purchasing power to obtain large pieces of real estate with less risk. The company partnered with Cadre, partnered with Goldman Sachs in January 2018 to allow a total investment of up to $250 million from Goldman's clients. Goldman began collecting funds for Cadre in August of 2017. All right, so this is what the big bankers do. The swamp that was supposed to be drained, right? Can you hear it draining? Because I can't. Prosecutors crack down on clergy abuse as bishops gather. Hundreds of boxes, millions of records from Michigan to New Mexico this month. Attorneys general are sifting through the files of clergy sexual abuse seized through search warrants and subpoenas at dozens of archdioceses. DARPA wants thought-controlled weapons by finding ways to read soldiers' minds. DARPA is perhaps the most disturbing entity in existence today. The Department of Defense research arm is paying scientists to invent ways to instantly read soldiers' minds using tools like genetic engineering, and the end goal is thought control weapons. And there are incredible amounts of information about DARPA and the projects that they are working on. And they're up to no good. Hundreds of illegal immigrants from Congo and Angola dropped off in San Antonio. Facebook bans natural news. Saudi teen faces execution, crucifixion for taking part in a protest at age 10. A teenager who has been imprisoned by the Saudi Arabian government for nearly 5 years is facing execution for taking part in a protest that happened 8 years ago when he was just 10 years of age. Murtaja, 18-year-old kid, was initially arrested when he was 13, 3 years after an Arab Spring-related protest that he took part in. Yeah, the so-called Arab Spring, right? What we got here? Cool Reality Radio. Here on UCY for, what is this? June 16th. And this will air. Prime Minister of Poland signs global appeal to stop 5G telecommunications transmission. All you tech lovers and phone lovers will be masturbating to 5G. While the microwaves burn your fucking genitals off, but you'll love it. It'll just be part of the whole techie experience. The whole, I love my phone. I love it. I love my phone. I can't put it down. Sometimes I drag it through the crack of my ass, and I love it. Sometimes I rub my naughty bits with my phone, and I love it. I can't stay away from it. It's really, I mean, we've crossed the Rubicon. There's many Rubicons that have been crossed and are in danger of being crossed. And I think it's, people are just marching towards it. They're just marching towards their own fucking demise. And I hate to be so dark about it, but I mean, if you can't look at what the fuck happened here, don't even tell me this. Oh, shit. Anyway. We'll see whether this actually... is recording or not. Anyway, Elon Musk's company launched 60 satellites into space to blast 5G at us. More planned, despite telecoms admitting there is no research that proves 5G is safe. Hey, listen, it's the perfect way. It's the perfect plan. People are marching right off the plank, man. Oh, what do you mean? I can get my tweets faster. I can get my, I can do all this so much faster. You get you get all your tweets faster with 5G. And just, I mean, with all of the red flags, the congressional meeting that took place with professionals saying this is not good. This is not a good thing. 5G. The millimeter wave, the whole thing. It's not good. It's not something that we should do. 4G LTE is enough. And honestly, I mean, 3G would be fine. In the sense that you'd be able to utilize some of the things that, for commerce, for putting together, buying shit at a coffee shop or, other ways of paying rather than carrying cash around, shit like that. But we don't need this. This Internet of Things is completely fucking unnecessary. It's completely unnecessary. But you get these people that are just, just enthralled, just balls fucking deep and into the next new phone, the next new this. They all do the same fucking thing. They're either waterproof or they facial recognition, which is bad. Okay. Watch Minority Report, Philip K. Dick, all these There's a show on Prime. It's called Electric Dreams, which is based on stories from, Philip K. Dick, which is, Minority Report and Scanner Darkly, things like that. Man, it's just not good. It's not a good thing. We don't need it. We don't need to have a fucking, transmitter out by the curb that's going to shoot fucking, 5G into your house. It's not good, man. It's not good. What we got here? Let's see what's going on over at RT. See what kind of debacles happening.
Going back to the beginning of the incident, it became known after the U.S. Navy reported 2 distress calls Thursday morning. While they claimed that they helped out with the rescue effort, Iranian state media is saying that an Iranian ship was the first to be on the scene, and they rescued all 44 of the crew members. Now, the U.S. Fleet's commander later said that it was possible that there was an attack that caused this explosion, and some reports are saying that 1 or 2 of the ships was hit by a torpedo. Others are suggesting that
2 oil tankers catch fire after suspected attack. Gulf of Tonkin, people.
It's too early to say whether or not this was an attack.
Now, this is strikingly familiar to an incident that occurred in May. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, back in May, like you said, there was an attack on 4 oil tankers near the United Arab Emirates. Now, the government there originally denied the attack happened altogether, but later they said that it was the result of an unnamed state actor sabotaging the oil tankers with naval mines. Now, although the U.S. was much more straightforward in accusing Iran of this, National Security Advisor John Bolton said that he was almost certain that Iran was responsible. In response, Tehran called this accusation ridiculous and called Bolton a warmonger. And these harsh words, they're not random. They're amidst heightened tensions that continue to persist in the Persian Gulf today. Let's not forget that the United States put their naval fleet there in the Persian Gulf and are at the same time saying that they're not trying to raise tensions or start a war. On top of that, Washington has already said that they want to exert maximum economic pressure on Iran after the failure of the nuclear deal. So this is definitely a delicate situation that could easily become more volatile.
The U.S. is boosting its military presence in Poland as part of a new deal with Donald Trump. Warsaw will host an extra 1,000 American troops, buy U.S. fighter jets, and purchase American liquefied natural gas. Moscow, meanwhile, says it regrets the U.S. military buildup in Poland. Donald Trump praised his Polish counterpart in Washington.
U.S.-Polish alliance. It's a very special alliance with very special people. Poland will still provide basing and infrastructure to support military presence of about 1,000 American troops. The Polish government will pay for this.
So America is bolstering its military presence in Poland. They are adding to the 4,500 troops that are already in the country on a rotating basis.
Who's taking over the world?
Now, it sounds dramatic, but it's actually somewhat short of the request from Poland for a permanent U.S. military base, which they intended to name Fort Trump. In the end, the USA agreed to shift non-combat troops to Poland, who had already been stationed elsewhere in Europe. So who are the Poles trying to defend themselves from?
Russia is again showing its unkind, unfriendly imperial face. Russia is always looking out to take our territory.
Yes, those menacing Russians on Poland's border just waiting for the right moment to invade. But it seems that Donald Trump doesn't quite share that view.
So do you consider Russia as a threat to Poland and to Europe?
I hope not. I'll tell you what, we're with everybody, and I hope not. I think that Russia will treat Poland with respect.
Now, while the Russia threat may be imaginary, the money that Poland is showing the United States is very real.
Big buyers of our equipment, of our planes and our munitions in every form and every respect.
At this point, we've got Trump praising Warsaw for meeting its NATO spending requirements, 2% of their GDP. Trump is encouraging Poland to buy more than 30 F-35 fighter jets. He even had one of them fly over the White House on the sunny afternoon. Duda gave an encouraging wave. And there's more money from Poland coming America's way. Trump hailed a deal in which the country would purchase 2 billion cubic meters of liquefied natural gas from the United States. Furthermore, at this point, Trump is praising Poland for its Baltic Pipe project.
We support Poland's construction of the Baltic pipeline, which will help European countries diversify their energy sources. It's desperately needed, and that's the way to go.
So, the big bad Russians have got Poland into a situation where it has no choice except to increase its military spending, purchase a bunch of fancy new F-35 fighter jets, and import liquefied natural gas all the way from the other side of the planet. Yes, Trump, the salesman, is happy to make a deal. It seems that sometimes having a boogeyman can be very convenient. Caleb Maupin, RT, New York.
Political.
Seems that there's a feed issue, which I haven't seen in a long time, but, you know, what are you going to do? Anyway. All right, maybe it'll come back on. I've not had a problem with RT in a long time. It's tremendous. My bandwidth is tremendous most of the time. It's terrific even. Yeah, the whole fucking thing is shot in the ass. Except in the A. Isn't that great? Seems that, anyway. Maybe I can open it up over here. No, seems that the mouse, this is a Linux system too. It's crippled. It's effing crippled. Anyway. Fucking garbage. Anyway, can I see what I can do on this? See what I can do on this one here. Anyway, we got see if maybe this one will. See what Max and Stacy are talking about today. Maybe this will take a shit too.
Hi, I'm Max Kaiser. This is the Kaiser Report as predicted on this show many times. Yes, quantitative easing 4, QE4. Is now well underway. Can't taper a Ponzi scheme.
Quattro.
No economics matters. Only money printing and stock manipulation. J. Clayton, master manipulator. Shame on you. Yes? Stacey?
Jay Clayton is the chairman of the SEC, and Jay Powell is the head of the Federal Reserve Bank. And he recently said we should get rid of this word unconventional when relating to all the crazy monetary policy tools he's deploying. And, of course, I just want to read quickly these headlines from Dow Jones Market Watch just so you could see the environment in which we're going to cover these headlines. U.S. economy gains just 75,000 jobs in May as wage growth flashes a warning signal. We're at 3.6% unemployment, but 1/3 of Americans say they need a side gig to pay expenses. And then investors are so bearish on stocks, it's about time to get bullish, says Bank of America Merrill Lynch, which is quite odd because, of course, stock markets are far higher than they were in the lead up to the 2007-2008 crash.
And as you point out, there's two J's. There's Jay Clayton, Jay Powell over at the Fed. But Jay Clayton went on mainstream media recently and claimed that you can't have a Bitcoin ETF because you have to solve the manipulation problem. Jay Clayton over at the SEC oversees the greatest crime spree and market manipulation spree ever in the history of the world. He's a racketeer. He's basically the John Gotti of manipulation, and he should be in jail and punished severely for everything that he does.
A lot of banks pay constant fines. There was just a fine this week paid $91 million by the Forex market riggers. So rigging is part of the economy. That's part of the financial market. So
without fraud, there would be no stock market.
Exactly.
So he can't see. He's a fish in a fishbowl.
Yeah.
He's so surrounded by fraud, he can't see the fraud. Bitcoin will get rid of Jay Clayton and the SEC, thank God, because they're horrible. And, the melt up in the stock market is well underway. And to say that people are bearish on stocks, this is Newspeak from 1984. You can't have people are bearish on stocks while it's hitting new all-time highs and trading adjusted for stock buybacks. It's never traded at a higher price earnings multiple in history. Not even in 1929 were stocks trading at this high of a price earnings multiple than they are right now, adjusted for, Jay, the illegal stock buybacks, Jay.
There's actually an ETF which is just launching for a trade war. It's a trade war ETF, so you could bet on that. But that relates to this first headline here. Druckenmiller dumps all his stocks, piles into treasuries, expecting rates to hit zero. This is Stan Druckenmiller, who used to be the chief strategist for the Quantum Fund, Soros' fund. So he's considered, a great stock picker. He certainly did well for George Soros. He sold all his equity portfolio and he's gone long treasuries. When the Trump tweet went out, he said, I went from 93% invested to net flat and bought a bunch of treasuries, Druckenmiller said Monday to Bloomberg, referring to the May 5th tweet from Trump, which threatened an increase in tariffs on China and which sparked the most vicious bout of trade war-related selling yet. Explaining his decision, Druck said that it's not because I'm trying to make money. I just don't want to play in this environment.
All right, he's throwing a hissy fit. Look, next week, Druckenmiller could tweet, I've decided to go 150% long stocks. The great thing about having a quant fund or a hedge fund is that you don't pay any fees to liquidate your portfolio or go back into your portfolio. Don't listen to this guy. Hedge funds never outperform. He's had a lucky track record for a few years. He and George Soros, of course, invented reflexivity. Their term for market manipulation. Soros said if you were to bully stocks enough, you can manipulate the price. We call it reflexivity. It's called stock manipulation. Jay.
He, by the way, said this before the rallies going into, because Trump is causing wild swings. He himself does wake up at 4 a.m. in a bad mood sometimes, and he'll tweet something crazy, or he watches Fox News and then he tweets something even crazier, and then he tweets something sensible by noon once he's spoken to his wife. It's like, so he is great for these sort of guys, hedge funds. They love the volatility, right? So Trump has certainly brought with his tweets some interesting volatility to all sorts of global markets and to, look at your face right now. That's like the look of many world leaders looking at Trump's tweets going, wait, we're at war now?
Well, on a percentage basis, I'm not sure he causes any more volatility than we've ever had in the stock market because, a move on a $25,000 Dow looks big, but it's on a percentage basis not so big. But where he does help are in the options market. So the options market is where you can, take a lot of premium, volatility premium off in ways that he is definitely helping. So if a $5 option is swinging $20, $25, $30 back and forth based on Trump tweets, you can make a lot of money in the options market. A company like Microsoft, again, here's market manipulation. They manipulate their earnings announcements with purchasing and trading options on their own stock. That's called market manipulation. Jay, that's 5 examples so far in the first 5 minutes. Jay,
just more, Max pointing out more fraud and more manipulation of the ruling ruling class and their fucking minions. Let's see what we get here. I knew that there was one here that I wanted to. I know there was another one here. Yeah.
Man, do I have a juicy show for you. Oh, my God. I just peed myself a little bit. This is the comedy show where Americans in America covering American news are called foreign agents. Good news, folks. Good news. You may have heard in the past that our election system here in America is, how do I say, festering, rancid, corrupt, needlessly complex, rigged, rotten, infected, putrid, pus-covered, diseased, dog pile of stinking, dying, cockroach-filled, rat smelling like Mitch McConnell under a van of pig farts. And that's from the Lancet Medical Journal, all right? But have no fear, we have found the answer. The most trustworthy of corporations has announced they are going to selflessly and patriotically secure our elections. Microsoft.
God.
The headlines this month have been grandiose and exciting. Microsoft offers software tools to secure elections. Microsoft aims to modernize and secure voting with Election Guard. I mean, could anything be safer than something called Election Guard? It's got guard right there in the name. It's as strong and trustworthy as Crotch Guard. This isn't actual oil meant to be sprayed on your junk. I'm unclear as to why you spray it on your junk. Maybe to secure your erections? Because they've been Microsoft? And that is my favorite joke I've ever written. Anyway, Microsoft is foisting their Election Guard software on us. And worry not that we'll be tied down by having to laboriously publicly debate whether this is what we want or not. No. The election technology is already set to be adopted by half of voting machine manufacturers and some state governments for the 2020 general election. Microsoft describes Election Guard as a free, open-source software development kit that will make voting secure, more accessible, and more efficient anywhere it's used. Doesn't open source mean definitely safe? Mint Press's Whitney Webb reported on Election Guard and spoke to journalist Yasha Levine, who said, what open source does is give a veneer of openness that leads one to think that thousands of people have vetted the code and flagged any bugs. But actually, very few people have the time and ability to look at this code. So this idea that open source code is more transparent isn't really true. And as WikiLeaks proved when they revealed the CIA's Vault 7, when the CIA discovers holes in code, they don't reveal it to the public and say, look at this. They keep it to themselves to exploit secretly, which is what could be done with Election Guard. So while open source is better than not open source, it's not a silver bullet. It's like saying that 90 zombies chasing you is better than 100 zombies chasing you. Sure, but that doesn't mean it's time to sit down and have a beer, you know? Let's get to the security measures. Homomorphic encryption is the only Election Guard security measure named in the press release. Wow, homomorphic encryption sounds awesome. Homomorphic sounds like the gay member of the X-Men. But in fact, it's a malleable form of encryption, which apparently is not the most secure nor sought-after form of encryption, according to nerds who study the cryptoverse. which is a term I just made up to sound smarter. But on top of that, there is an added layer of concern given Microsoft's past, particularly their history of working with U.S. government agencies to bypass encryption. So the company setting up the encryption for our elections is a company with a history of helping the U.S. government break encryption. This is like setting up a system to test for steroids in baseball and asking Sammy Sosa to help you do it. And yes, Sammy Sosa actually looks like that now. But he suffers from a rare mental illness called too much money. And the Microsoft takeover gets even worse. It's not only Microsoft. They're doing it in a partnership with a cybersecurity firm called Galois, which, though it describes itself as a privately held U.S.-owned and operated company, public records indicate that Galois' only investors are DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and the Office of Naval Research, both of which are divisions of the Department of Defense. Did you catch that? Galois claims to be a private company. The only investor is the Pentagon. So Microsoft and our war machine are taking over the election system. I mean, DARPA's the department that tries to put microchips in soldiers' brains to create Terminators or Robocops or other dystopian hounds of hell. Anything ever invented where your, first response is, that's awful, Jesus Christ! DARPA did that. That's DARPA. That's DARPA. Yeah, it is. Doesn't matter what. If it's like a slinky that can kill 900 people at once, DARPA. DARPA did that. I wouldn't even let someone from DARPA look after my cat for the weekend, all right? You think I want them looking after our entire election system? You know, I come home, the cat has half a head and a Game Boy duct taped to its ass. Like, you, DARPA! I don't care if the Mario Kart theme song plays when it's get the out of my apartment! Mid-press, that was a true story. Mid-press further revealed Galois has a spin-off company called Free and Fair, thou doth protest too much, that creates technology for elections and worked with Microsoft to make Election Guard. Unfortunately, Free and Fair is connected to every form of neocon think tank, government agency, and large corporation. They're especially in bed with the Department of Homeland Security. So what's wrong with that? Well, as Whitney Webb details, before, during, and after the 2016 election, the Department of Homeland Security was caught attempting to hack into state electoral systems in at least 3 states, Georgia, Indiana, and Idaho. DHS, which initially denied it, later responded that the attempted breach was legitimate business.
How fucking ridiculous. What a fucking joke it all is. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. And Cole Reality Radio signing out.
There is only one holistic system of systems. I will MK Ultra ya. Put the MK scope on ya. If the MK hits you, it's guaranteed to open ya. The 57mm Mark 110, 220 rounds a minute, try to stop them. Don't put that on your wish list, that's retarded babble. Protesters make the hit list soon as they start to rabble. They are nothing but fishes in the barrel. It doesn't have to be Christmas for a carol. Some decorate with ornamental decorum. Some perform Shakana on Hanukkah and Purim. That's where my job come in. I am a blessing to the mercenary. For the corporation selling weapons to them. Any potential competitor step into them. I'm authorized to knock them out and stick a GPS into them. They want to sell uranium to Iran that's enriched. That's a bitch. Now we gotta teach them.
The Anti-Media Radio with your host Nick Burnaby here on UCY.tv.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on Revolution